You got to go like that when you start. Okay. I'm Ron Miscavige. This is Life After Scientology, and I welcome you to the show. You'll notice that I didn't play my horn today. I have my chops are a little bit injured, so I'm just resting them up. And we're going to start the show the old way. And by the way, that music that you heard is a song off my album. It's called Jazzalujah. That's the album I did in the 70s. And if you go to my website, therealronmiscavige.com, you'll see that you can sample any of the songs off the album. And then if you'd like to buy them, you can also do that. So I have a guest on this morning who experienced an unbelievable situation. I mean, an unbelievable series of events. And I really wanted to get him on to tell this to you because these are some abuses that I should say, I can't believe it. Of course I can believe it because this is how the Church of Scientology operates. And just to make a long story short, I have Gary Weber today, who was a member of the church for many years and a member of the Guardian's Office, or the Office of Special Affairs, and he's going to tell a story about his dealings with the Church of Scientology. Before we get started, remember, if you would, please, could you subscribe if you haven't subscribed and hit the bell. And then if you'd like to become a Patreon, you can go to my site, therealronmiscavige.com, and you'll see how you can become one to help on the show if you'd like to. So without any further words, please welcome Gary Weber. Good morning, Gary, and it's great having you on the show, my friend.
Wow. Well, thanks for the intro. And wow, what a blast from the past, Ron. Amazing that you're getting the word out. I'd sure like to see you, but I guess I could wave to myself on this thing. So thanks for the intro.
Yeah, okay. Well, just for the audience, because they don't know what's happening here, they'll be able to see me and you right now.
Okay.
But with this method of recording, you can only see the person being interviewed.
Okay.
That is us right now. Those of you out there.
It's good to hear your voice, Ron.
Right. But, Gary, people out there watching this see both of us, though.
Good.
Okay?
Good.
So, anyway, listen, let's get started on this because this starts basically back in, what was it, 82, where you were, was it the GO then or the OSA at that point?
Well, basically, I got involved in the 70s. And then late 70s, I joined the Sea Org, and I was in the Guardian's Office. I started out in public relations, and then I ended up in legal. And then, and that was at Flag. I don't know if your audience knows where that is, but that's Clearwater, Florida. That's sort of the mecca of Scientology.
Right. Did you ever go and visit the GO in St. Hill, England, or no?
Oh, yes, I did. I got sent out there. Let's see, what happened was I was sent out there to do the public relations course, and I studied under David Gaiman, right. And David and I think Sheila Gaiman.
Sheila was his wife, that's right.
Yes, and then I stayed with them at their house. And he was the guardian of PR, and right. Then, of course, Jane Kember was there. And actually, I was sent there because Jane Kember was being extradited to the United States for crimes. And, of course, there was a lot of PR action going on back then. And it was how it was all lies, fake news.
Yeah.
We're being persecuted. Jane's innocent. And so we ran campaigns out in England to, we found opinion leaders. You follow all these guardian orders that were written by L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah.
Find the opinion leader, give them gifts, or find out who their friends are and that kind of thing. So it's very highly organized and targeted.
Yeah.
It was to, not let Jane Kember go back to the United States.
Well, she did go back, and she actually didn't. She didn't serve actually any time in jail, did she?
I don't believe so.
But Mary Sue, Elrond Hubbard's wife,
Hmm.
took the fall on that, and she ended up in jail. I guess it was one of these minimum security things for what was it, about a year?
You know what? When I was in, let me tell you, I was under a cloud. My whole thing was we did nothing wrong. Jane's innocent. It's the
Right.
government's out to get us.
Yeah.
And that's all I knew. You know what? After I got out of Scientology, I mean, I basically had to pull the thorns out. And it's great that you're sharing the words of all these different things that took place. But I had to divorce myself from Scientology and what happened and all that kind of thing. I mean, I do stay in touch, you know, like I read things every once in a while, that kind of thing. But I don't know if she served time or she didn't serve time. I could tell you my experience when I was there.
Yeah. No, listen, I don't want to get into that because that's, I can understand how that is because, like, when I was in the Sea Org, we were absolutely cut off from any news of the outside world, of any criticism of the church. And to mirror what you just said, yes, we were told we've done nothing wrong. These people are suppressive persons. In other words, the same bullshit story that goes on all throughout Scientology.
Well, let me tell you one thing that, you know what, how I awoken out of this mental bubble.
Yeah.
Well, I was lucky being in the Guardian office. There was lawsuits going on, like Mayor Gabe Gazaris was hit and runs, and of course I was told it was fake. I was in the public relations department, and I was going the whole spin was they're persecuting us like the Germans persecuted the Jews, and that was the storyline.
Right.
Well, what happened was there was a mission that came into the Guardian office. This is the first part of my awakening, basically.
Yeah.
It was called the Kingfisher Mission, and it was Doris Hoyseth that came in. And I remember her to this day. It was a long time ago. And she smoked Doral cigarettes. And it says, listen, we're losing too many legal battles. We got to tell you what the truth is. And I'm like, what the truth is? I thought the truth was we didn't do anything, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this was a top secret Kingfisher mission from the CMO. And that came in. I mean, she had full regalia. You know, you look like the commander of the special forces. You know.
I know. It's just it's a facade. You know.
And I remember I was sitting down and I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're all innocent. Well, she tells me, no, we staged the hit and run on Mayor Gabe Cazares. And I went, well, they said, what do you know, Gary? It was eyes only, if you're familiar with that kind of mentality, or whatever you know, we'll take care of. What you don't know, we're not going to tell you what the crimes are. Yeah. So one of the things that was, well, Mayor Gabe Cazares, you know, that fake hit and run, this bullshit. She says, no, Gary, we did it. And I'm like, what? Yeah. We did it? I thought that was a lie. Okay, she told me that one, and then she told me another one, and I forgot what that one was, but it was horrendous. And I even get the shakes even thinking about it because this is when the bubble started popping.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Wait a minute. You know, the way to happiness, tell the truth, be good, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, she rattled off all these crimes that we actually did that I was saying we didn't do. And then, of course, the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics is what you use in order to commit crimes. It's saving mankind so we could do harmful acts. And that's, you know, what happened. So anyway, so that was the Guardian. It was a Kingfisher mission. And everyone got interviewed for what they knew, what was going on, or something like that they were exposed to, and they were told the truth because they figured, well, if you know the truth, we could spin it properly or whatever the thing was. Anyway, so that was the Kingfisher mission, and that started me doubting.
Right. I can see that.
Yeah.
Now, just as I have curiosity on my part, do you know why they called it the Kingfisher Mission?
Yeah.
Can you tell that?
The Kingfisher Mission, yeah, it was all about Mission All Clear was the other one.
Oh, no. Why did they use that name? Do you have any idea?
Sure. No idea.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wondered because I know they had an all clear mission that
Yeah.
obviously named what they were trying to do. They were trying to get all the lawsuits settled so L. Ron Hubbard could go back to INT, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, continue on.
Okay.
I'm sorry to
Well,
interrupt
we're
you.
just kind of having a gentle conversation, but that was part of my awakening. Another one was sort of weird. Was there was the time when the mission holders were all going crazy. Remember that time period?
Absolutely.
And I was in the RPF at that time, and I was ordered by CMO and all the top brass that was there to guard people, all the mission holders that came in. They stayed at the Sandcastle, which is the church hotel. The RPF says anybody that leaves this room is you do whatever you can to shove them back in. You know, they are not to leave until they're sec checked, audited, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, what? You know, here I'm in the RPF, but that's a whole different kind of story how I got there and that kind of thing. But that was sort of a wake up call too. Is wait a minute, these people are in prison, and I'm the jail guard.
Right.
And I'm thinking, what?
Yeah, that's when reality starts to sink in.
Yeah,
right?
reality starts creeping in here. I'm doing these deeds for the greatest good, for the greatest number of dynamics.
And you're in the RPF, and you're not to be trusted, right?
Not to be trusted.
I know. It's bullshit. Listen, I want to get into some key points because we went over this.
Sure.
And you remember telling me that you were talking to a guy who would actually go with L. Ron Hubbard, and you say it must be great to be around L. Ron Hubbard. Could you relate that story to her?
Oh, yeah. I was in the legal bureau, and Philip Parks. I don't know if I could say these names or not, but
No, name the names. Look,
okay.
Say the goddamn names. I mean, just this is we're trying to get to the truth here and expose the church for what they do. Hopefully, they get their tax exemption taken away. If we end up with one politician out of all of Washington who has the courage to stand up to them, which I don't know if it will ever happen, but I would like it to happen. And let's start naming names. You know, I'm named. They have hate sites out on me. I'm sure you're going to have hate sites out on you. Name names.
Oh, yeah. That's the standard operating procedure inside the Guardian Office or OSA.
Oh, yeah.
You determine the threat, develop a dead agent pack, which is basically a pack that's designed to what do you call it? Destroy a person.
You destroy his credibility.
Destroy the credibility. And the thing that another wake up call was if you don't find any dirt on them, make it up.
Exactly.
And it'll be
the exact word was manufacture it.
Manufacture it. And it said on the Guardian order, it says it's always attack, never defend.
Yeah.
And it's easier. Let them defend against being a child molester.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Okay, so let's get back to that story with the guy who worked with LRH.
Okay, ask me that question again. I'm sorry.
Well, this was a guy that you spoke to, and you said it must be great to work.
Phil Parks is his name.
Yeah.
And his wife was Enid Parks. Anyway, they were from Mauritius, and they were on the boat with Ron. And he was port captain, and I remember talking to him, and I'm going, "Oh man, you worked with the Messiah. You worked with L. Ron Hubbard. You're so lucky. This is amazing. Tell me about him.
Yeah.
And Philip liked me, and he said, "Gary, it was scary. You didn't know whether this guy came unglued one day or he'd attack you." He said it was scary working with L. Ron Hubbard. And he told me that. Remember, you get in trouble for stuff like this. And basically, he ended up getting RPF'd. He was an AG legal, and he got RPF'd, and he got kicked out. I guess he was getting a little disaffected at the time.
Well, that's a pretty good guess, man.
Yeah. So I guess he told me it's not what you think.
Yeah. Well.
And then he just looked at me with those eyeballs like I can't tell you the true story, but it was very scary working with this guy. He said he would come unhinged at the drop of a hat. So,
Wow.
and that sort of freaked me out. That was another thing that the psychology terms is cognitive dissonance, is when you have enough things that bump against reality,
Yeah.
or and waking up is how many does it take somebody, a leaf or a tree?
Yeah.
For me, it took a tree.
Yeah. Okay.
Some people leave when it just takes a leaf. So I could tell you all the cognitive dissonances I've had. That was one of them.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, that is a story. I've heard similar things from other people who said, L. Ron Hubbard, one of the messengers told me one day, he said to them, listen, do as I say, not as I do. And that was like, to her, it was a little bit of a wake-up call. Now, one of the things we went over, and I'd like you to get into, is the abortion thing, when you would be in charge of the girls going to get abortions. You want to tell us about that a bit, please?
Sure. Let's see. I'm in my early 20s, and I'm married, and I have a daughter, and we're in the Sea Org. My wife and I are in the Sea Org, and policy comes out, and it says no more babies. And it's based on the bean theory, which is their policy. It says it just costs too much for people to have babies. It takes people off post. You have to pay doctor bills. And we want somebody that's here all on board, on purpose,
right.
So anyway, so that was the determining factor of the no baby thing, because now you have to run a nursery. So anyway, people are, so the ban's on. Now that was, I think in the 80s. And
Maybe.
I'm in the Guardian office, and what happened is people are getting abortions right and left. I mean, they're just going to the Clearwater free clinic,
Yeah.
And of course, the church doesn't pay for that sort of thing, so they go to the free clinic. And it got to be such a flap that word was getting out that the Church of Scientology is having 10, 20 abortions a day, or however many they could do in a day.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Guardian office said, okay, you got to disperse them throughout Florida, so we don't get a PR flap. So anyway, Dave Revell, Motor Pool, I had to get with him. He had to schedule the buses. And the ethics officer, the Flag Service Org ethics officers, was providing a list of all the people that were mandatory abortions that they had to do, get on the bus. I just had to make sure that Dave Revell wasn't bringing them to Clearwater, Florida.
Right.
And they went to St. Pete. They went to they went all over.
Well, and then what happened with your wife? I guess you mentioned that she was a bit against getting an abortion, right?
My wife was totally anti-abortion. So what happened was, my wife, the rhythm method, I guess, doesn't apply.
Yeah.
And she becomes pregnant. And anyway, it's terrible. Here I am, and I remember going into the Guardian office, ethics officer, and saying, Gary, you get your wife to get that abortion now. And I'm like, wow, okay, I'm still all in, whatever it takes. So I'm talking to Kelly and telling her, you gotta do this, and she says no. So anyway, she gets RPF'd, and anyway, by the time I've had all these cognitive dissonance, I'm about ready. I'm sort of done. So I originate that I want to leave the Sea Org. I'm still going to be Scientologist, but I want to leave the Sea Org.
To her, you mean
it's a gradual step out. Some people can wake up like that.
Yeah.
For me, it was a slow process, and I said, I'm bad. I'm no good. Please get rid of me. So anyway, I get shoved in the RPF, and my wife's in the RPF. Anyway, of course, they run that guilt on you, which is you're going to let mankind going down the dwindling spiral of eternity. You are going to leave mankind destroyed.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all that guilt gets played on you. And then, of course, you're in the RPF. So, okay, I'm a bad person, because anybody that wants to leave has got overts and withholds. So you're on the meter all the time.
Yeah.
And then what happens with Kelly is Kelly refuses to have the baby or to the abortion. Well, she gets sent to the RPF's RPF.
Jeez.
And now, I don't know if your listeners know what the RPF's all about, but it's the most degrading thing. It's like Stalag 13.
Yeah.
You're banned from the rest of the group. You have to wear dirty clothes. I remember when I got in there, there was just a bucket or a barrel of just old clothes. They were dirty, just black or dark blue clothing. And you had to wear that. So like you get routed in and you reach into the barrel to find something that fits. And then you get a cot, and for me, I was in the Fort Harrison. Remember the garage?
Yeah. And the place where people stay it's in the garage, in the parking structure, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. So anyway, Kelly's pregnant. I'm in there. I tell her I want to leave. She doesn't want to leave, but she wants the baby.
Yeah.
Anyway, so anyway, what happens is it's so disgusting for even me to even bring it up. It's just like nuclear waste.
Yeah.
I remember she's in the RPF's RPF, and she can't even talk to me. Remember, an RPFer can't talk to another Scientologist in good standing.
Yeah.
You have to only talk to your person in charge. I forget whatever, bosun or whatever he is.
Yeah.
And what happened was, and you're trying to work out your overts and withholds and why you're bad, and why you want to leave the group is because it's all me. I'm the bad guy. Anyway, you go through that. Well, Kelly is going through the same process, not following command intention.
Right.
And so anyway, there's something happened that just blew me away, and this freaked me out. Light bulb things changed inside me, major.
Yeah.
And that was there was a lady in the RPF, and the Flag Service Org wasn't producing over $1 million a week, so they were assigned liability, and they all had to eat rice and beans. And that's what happens in the church. If you don't meet your quotas, you're bad. You got to make up the damages. You're eating rice and beans. Anyway, in the RPF, all we had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner was rice and beans.
Right.
And my wife's pregnant, eating rice and beans for months. There was a lady, and I don't know who she was, but she stood up at the table and she yelled out, "This is bullshit. This lady's pregnant, eating rice and beans." And she's had like 4 or 5 kids. So she was a really instinctual mother.
Wow.
And she was sort of a new CEO member that somehow got busted for something. And then I realized we're damaging our daughter. Well, anyway, she ended up having epilepsy, but I don't know if that was caused from rice and beans, but I have to suspect that it was such a bad diet, in the RPF. Kelly's RPF was terrible.
Wow.
What she ate, but that says, I got to get the fuck out of here now.
Yeah.
Kelly, would you leave with me? Please, would you leave with me? Well, we had no money. We were making $17 a week, but in the RPF, it's half pay.
Right.
I forget, we were making $9-10 a week.
Yeah.
I had no money, but it's the dark night of the soul. You say, "Hey, honey, can we go?" And she's in the RPF, and I see her, and she just says, "No, let's work out why we're blowing in our overts and withholds."
Man, oh man.
Wow. I said, "I've got to go." And I remember, here I am. I have a child, and of course we had to alternate seeing our child. Rhiannon was 1 year old.
Yeah.
And I had to, boy, it just hits in the heart. See my child only for 1 hour a day, but Kelly and I had to alternate for that 1 hour to see our child.
Yeah.
One time I'd see it for an hour. The next day, Kelly would see it,
Right.
Rhiannon, for an hour. And here's my wife's pregnant. RPF's RPF. I'm in these clothes, and I'm most degraded I've ever felt in my life. And of course, I've disconnected. We practice disconnection from people that are, antagonistic to us. We disconnect. Like I was disconnected from my mother, because she was antagonistic. I was with the ethics officer saying, your mother's anti-Scientologist. She said some things that were not supportive. So I had disconnected from her. So, and part of being in a cult, you have to disconnect from others. You have to disassociate yourself from the world and belong into this one thing and only have one source of information. That's the formula. So,
what happened out of telling your wife that, though? I got to get the answer to that. The suspense is killing me, to be honest with you. What was the upshot of that then?
The slipshot was Kelly stayed in the Sea Org, and she stayed in the RPF's RPF. And then I trying to route out. So I route out, or no, I don't route out. I don't know if you know Jeannie Liccardi from the CMO, but I'm getting commeved by her. And, being in the Guardian office, they kept a big eyeball on me. Anyway, they declared me an SP. So out I go. No money whatsoever. Kelly's in the RPF, and then she's wanting to keep the baby. But the church is going to get rid of her because they're going to fitness board her because she's having a baby.
Right.
So anyway, so I'm outside. I go to a telephone booth and I call my mom. I don't have anything really. I just have a wallet, some change. I call my mom, collect, and I say, "Mom, listen, could I come home? I don't have any money. I need a place to stay." And she said, "Gary, you made your bed. You sleep in it." And I'm like, "I'm fucked. This is it. This is the end." No, but it wasn't. There's a deeper barrel. It was a payphone. I left my wallet. It was a Piggly Wiggly, like a 7-Eleven kind of store.
Yeah, I know.
I left the wallet on top of that payphone. I walked away, and after a while, I realized I left my wallet on top of that. I came back. My wallet was gone.
Good Lord.
I had no money. I had nothing. Nowhere to go. Oh, man.
I'll tell you went from the frying pan into the fire. But isn't there a little bit of hope at the end of this tunnel? Yeah. Didn't you meet a guy by the name of Don Maines?
Don Maines, yeah. I had one dime left in my name. It was in my pocket. And it was in the public relations department. We were trying to convert Don Maines, who was the city commissioner. He was a public official.
Yeah.
Anyway, Don and I got to be pretty good friends. Like I tried to convert him all the time, and he got to know me, and we basically got to be friends and agreed to disagree. And anyway, I called him, and I said, "Don, I have nowhere to go. Can I come and stay with you until I get on my feet?" And he was like in shock, like, "Okay." He took me in.
Wow.
And then from there, I grew, and I'm the man that I am now.
Well,
and it's basically people like him that, and he was Clearwater hated Scientology. He was a public fit. He took me in for knowing that he could get into a lot of trouble. Like, what, you're housing a Scientologist? We're trying to get them out of Clearwater. They're the ones that are, or create so many problems. So anyway, it was the love and grace of that man that helped me out.
Well, that's the compassion that every man has in their heart. Well, not every, right. I'd say probably about 97%. And that is the thing that keeps humanity going. And then
a quick note of that. I hooked up with him many years later. I found him on Facebook and whatever. He worked for George Bush. He flew around on Air Force One. He was a HUD secretary. And worked in Washington, D.C. And I went to thank him personally. I flew out there I'm going to start to cry, but
That's fabulous. And I
but I,
understand that at that time he also gave you a job selling, didn't he?
yes. And what happened was he's so well known and loved. And that Clearwater Festival of Jazz that goes on to this
Yeah,
day in Clearwater,
yeah.
he is the honorary one that founded it and brought it to life. And all that celebration down there is due to that man. But I remember I had no job or nothing, and so I went to answered this ad selling Forvec vacuum cleaners, which was shampoos, your carpet, or whatever. But Don gave me a list of all the his friends. I was the top salesman for Forvec vacuum cleaners, like a door-to-door salesman kind of guy.
Oh yeah.
Because they bought it because they loved Don. But I was pretty good sales, I guess. But
Well, you must have been pretty good because I know that they're a bit pricey too, but they're good.
Yeah, it was $900.
Yeah.
What, 30, 40 years ago? $900
Yeah.
for a vacuum cleaner.
Listen.
And I sold because Don would give me his contacts.
Yeah. Oh, Gary, I'll tell you, we're at the bewitching hour here. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Okay.
going to have to pull the plug on it. But listen, I got to have you back because there's a lot more to this story that I really want to get into with you. And I don't want to summarize it in 2 minutes because I mean it's good to have you on, but I definitely want to have you back so we can take up some of these other points. Am I getting a signal from my producer?
We got some super chats.
Oh, okay. Hang on a second, Gary. Let me handle his business.
All right.
We got one from Mary R. Sending love and support for $2.
Hey, thank you very much, Mary. I definitely appreciate that.
Melissa Payne. Happy holidays, Ron. Love you.
Melissa, she's an old listener. She's an old friend. Thanks a lot, Melissa, and happy holidays to you.
And one more. Kyle Carter. Suspense was killing me too, Ron.
Okay. Kyle Carter?
Kyle Carter.
Kyle, I'm going to have him back. He'll answer all the questions that happened in the future because the story...
That's the tip of it.
The story develops into something that you couldn't write shit like this. I mean, it has to happen. And, of course, no other than the Church of Scientology could pull the stuff that he did. Was that it on the... Okay, so... Gary, I'm sure you're going to come back, so I don't even have to ask you. I'm telling you you're going to come back, all right? That's an order. So for right now, let me tell you, I'm Ron Miscavige. This is Life After Scientology. If you want to help out in our endeavor, you can join, become a Patreon. You just go to my website, therealronmiscavige.com. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please do so and share this with as many people as possible. Listen, I would like to get this website up to 100,000 people watching every week. So if you can help me in this endeavor, I'd appreciate it. Just subscribe. Get a lot of your friends to subscribe. Meanwhile, for right now, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you on the next Life After Scientology. I'm Ron Miscavige. See you on the next one. Bye-bye for now.